So today's lesson, kids, and I know that's how I'm going to come across sounding like I'm giving a lecture, but I'm not. I'm just talking. Y'all know how I do. I just turn my phone on and I just talk while I'm driving. I guess it's on. I can see the little numbers running. It's hard to see. The sun, or the sky, I guess, rather, is shining down. So I woke up this morning and there was this post where some lady had said that she had given CMC $175 and she'd promised to pay her back. And then as I start reading through the comments, I'm starting to see a lot of people saying this is probably not legit, that, she's been like, in one post someone said she was 70 years old, and on another one someone said she was in her 60s. I don't know if it's legit. I don't know if she's 60, 50, 40, or 80. I don't know, and I hate to sound callous, but I just, I can't feel sorry for people. I cannot have sympathy for people who give their money to somebody who's been proven time and time again to be a scammer and a liar. And if you think that you're the exception, she's probably in inboxes. If this happened, I'm going to go with, let's assume that it did. She's probably in inboxes, sweet-talking people and giving her sad story about how horrible things are right now, and somebody in her family's sick, and somebody else in her family is, lost everything in a flood or whatever. She's just coming up and rehashing and replaying over and over again the same stories. It doesn't pull on my heartstrings. I may come across sounding like some kind of hard-hearted person, and I'm really not. I think it's probably just life lessons, that I've learned from trusting the wrong people. And sadly, some people don't learn that lesson. They continue to trust, mistrust. They give until they are really without. And basically, the people they've given to just are off smiling and living happy little life over here, while they're sitting there wondering, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to eat? And all this. They don't care. A con artist, a scammer, a bum, a beggar, a manipulator, a narcissist like CMC has no sympathy for you. They have no concern for your hunger or your children's hunger. She says herself, and anybody who is on Facebook can go and watch, and some people say, well, this is the reason why we share in the awareness groups, because some of the people that give to her don't know and are not aware. And it is true that she blocks out anything or anybody that comes onto her page and comments anything about negativity toward her that she deems negative, which is actually the truth, but she doesn't want her followers to know that. Some people go into inboxes. I have personally myself gone into a few inboxes, and I never go in there with a harassing tone, and I haven't done it in a long time. I did it for about 5 people just as a test, because I was watching her live. This was before I was blocked on my real account, and I was watching her live one day, and I'm picking up on all the different lives and the different stories from one minute to the next. And every person who was in her live praising her and talking about, you're beautiful and you're wonderful and you're so perfect and you haven't done anything wrong. I picked out the people that was doing the most sugar sweet comments, and I sent them the video clip from CMC Cliff Notes of the pinned video that they have of all the different times that she's been busted being a liar, when she's saying, her mom had a stroke and all this other BS, just as a test. And some of you may remember this, that she called me out on that live. because I was watching it, and as I'm sending the messages to these different people, I hear through her live her phone dinging. And I suspect that at least one or two of those people were her fake accounts on different phones. And sure enough, within seconds, she calls me out and says, "Stop sending this video to people or I'm going to give them the money to have you prosecuted." Well, we all know that's a big fat lie. She's not going to give anybody a dime for anything. And if she ever does give anybody money, such as her family, don't think that she doesn't let them know about it and for the rest of their life. If she gives them $5 to buy a pack of cigarettes, she reminds them of that well into their 80s or 90s. And what really got me last night was on the live where she's talking about, I think it was last night, I'm pretty sure it was. My days and nights run together because I'm watching it with my earphone in one ear and I'm watching TV with my other ear. But I hear her talking about Christmas shopping. Someone must have asked her, have you done your Christmas shopping? And she's like, I start my shopping at the 1st of January and I shop all year long, blah, blah, blah. Well, then she starts talking about what she's going to give her sons, and she starts talking about these conversations with her sons where they're just like, "Mom, I'm so glad you're around, Mom," and she's just making it sound like these kids are just so, just having these just nice, sweet conversations with her and saying, they're just going to get money anyway. I'm just going to give them money, other people's money, because it's not money that you worked for. And to sit there and pumice your dirty, nasty feet on your bed that you sleep in is not a job. I mean, if you go to Pornhub or some of these other websites where people have fetishes, I'm sure there's somebody out there willing to pay to watch that. They're willing to pay to watch you eat a hot dog or whatever. A big nasty plate of fried liver and onions, probably. There's a fetish for everybody, I guess. She can find people to pay her to do stuff like that. But it killed me. It didn't kill me. It just like woke me. I'm already awoke. I'm already woken to her nonsense and BS. But it was like a bing, 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 bing. Telling these people she's giving her kids money for Christmas. But it never occurred to her to pay their child support per month since she started this job. So-called job, that she calls it a job. 6 or 7 years ago, she says she's been doing this. Well, how hard is it to take $200 out of the money that Facebook pays you and send it to the courts? And even better, if you were in arrears to the state, to the child support enforcement, you could give that money directly to your sons so that it would mean more, because it would show them that you're making an effort to support them. But to deny that support payment, which is, from what I understand and from my own experience in the past with child support, the payments are set really low. They're really affordable to anybody, probably what they've got her child support set at per month. She could get a part-time job on the weekends waiting tables at Applebee's that she loves so good and make enough in tips, which she probably couldn't, because nobody's going to want to pay for the smell of cigarettes and pummy feet, dead skin flying around their appetizers. But anybody can make $80 to $100, $150 at a part-time job. And she likes to talk about, this is my job, this is my job. And now she's trying to convince everybody that she's got these other jobs. And she's like, I finally got a day off from work, I believe personally that this person, is it a cousin or someone that owns like a little country store? I believe she's got that person saying that she's working for them so that she can have something to write down as her income, you know. If, this is a big if, because I don't want anybody to get their hopes up that the state of Kentucky or that Breathitt County authorities are going to actually pursue this. But if they did pursue it, it wouldn't be that hard to subpoena her records, her pay records from Cash App and PayPal and Facebook. It would be just like if you work at, you know, Royal King or Cabela's or at a hospital or whatever your job might be, and you owe money to somebody and they decide to sue you for that money, they're going to have their lawyers subpoena your income to see if you can afford it and what you can afford to pay. And that's what the state of Kentucky should do. But I'm not holding my breath that they're going to. They didn't with my ex-husband. They wanted me to get out and follow him around with a camera and take pictures of him working and send it to, you know, bring it in to the county. And I just told them, you know, I'm not going to do it. I was busy raising a child by myself. I didn't have time to, you know, get my camera out and go. You talk about dedication. I just passed a guy walking. Now, like I said, it's not real chilly this morning. It's a lot warmer today than it's been all week. But I know who this guy is. He lives in my little community. But boy, I tell you what's the truth. You talk about walking. He's at least 4 miles from his house. And he's walking back towards his house. So he's probably walked farther than that and is on his way back home now walking. And I see him out walking all the time, but I had no idea that he walks that far. And if I get in 2.5 miles at the track, I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, back to the story. Here's what I actually came here to talk about. I didn't really even intend to talk about her specifically, but I do want everybody to know that's my feeling about it. Being from Eastern Kentucky, knowing the courts the way that they operate, knowing it's all buddy-buddy system, it's all, you know, that I'm not saying that they don't follow the law, but they don't enforce the laws as they should in some cases. And we all know her to be proven as a liar, and she's going to go into court, and she's going to lie as hard as she can. And it's up to the court to decide if they're going to allow her to get by with it or if they're going to make an example of her. I don't see them putting her in jail. And if they do, it won't be long term with, you know, the Rona. But moving on, what I actually came here to talk about was money. Like I started out talking about this woman claiming that she gave her some money. You're just one in a drop of, you know, in a bucket, a drop in a bucket of a lot of people. I won't say millions or thousands, but a great number of people who have given her money, believing her BS and thinking that she's going to pay me back, or if this even happened, you know. But here's my stance on all that. Regardless of whether it is her or whether it is anybody else on the internet or whether it is any local charities or any charities that are well known like the Red Cross, which by the way, CMC, I don't know what your experience was with the Red Cross, but let me tell you something. If you actually loved your child and you saw them sick and in need, and you knew that the Red Cross, okay, I'm going to go on ahead and move on from that, because she wouldn't get that. It would go right over her head. If it doesn't involve money coming into her pocket, she could care less. And the reason she doesn't want all of her people to donate to the Red Cross is because she'd rather them give it to her. Just like she was telling these people, send the money to me for your t-shirts and I will send it on to her. She claims she won't give the people the lady's name because she doesn't want the haters to come after that woman for making shirts. No, it's because she wants them to send the money to her, and then she's gonna claim that she paid this lady for these people's shirts, and that she was supposed to send them their shirts. But she would pocket the money and they would never get a shirt. And then she would blame it off on this so-called friend of hers. She's ordered those shirts herself. Nobody bought her those shirts. Give me a break. Give me a break. Who believes that BS? People, I've got cousins that I'm close to, but I'm not buying them 30 to 40 t-shirts and paying $15, $20, $30 a shirt. I don't give a flying flippity flip how much money I've got. And by the way, CMC, I've got cousins that are a hella lot richer than yours. Hella lot richer. Rich cousins. And I'm not talking about they run a country store, and that's where I'll leave that at. But they're not giving me their money, and I'm not asking them for it because it's not mine to ask for. Just because someone in your family has done well for themselves and has a lot of money doesn't mean it's yours. They may choose to help you, and if you're in serious need, you may choose to ask them for help. But even though they have a lot of money, that doesn't mean they're just going to hand it to you and say, it's all yours to keep. They're going to expect to be paid back like anybody else, like a bank or any other kind of lender. That brings me back. Segue. Back to the original story that I came here to talk about. Stop giving people your money. I made a post about that this morning. If you can not afford to donate to the Red Cross or to the Wounded Warrior Project or the animal rights groups or whatever local charities there might be that you feel is something that tugs on your heartstrings and you want to help, if you can afford to donate, give them a little bit of money. You don't have to give them thousands, but if you can afford to and you want to, then do that. If you can only afford $5 or $10 and you feel a need to give to that charity, give. But stop giving to people randomly on the internet. I'm not against anybody. I'm not here to say you shouldn't post your cash apps or any of that stuff. That's not my thing to talk about. It's up to that individual, and it's up to that individual that donates money to them if they decide to do that. But don't cry when you get taken for a ride. Don't cry, and well, I kind of understand the whole hypocrisy side of it, because if you're on there telling people, like, for example, if I make this video, and I post it, and then an hour later I'm on there with my Cash App, and I'm like, guys, I could use a little bit of help right now, or, donate to me, and I'll make sure the money goes to a good cause. People are going to be like, well, you know what? You're kind of contradicting yourself here a little bit. And I'm not going to do that, but I'm just saying that is, how it would look to some people. But like the post that I made, like if you can put aside $1, January, February, March, and when December comes around, you've got $12, and that's not a whole lot, but it would buy one nice little, maybe a little toy for one child in your town. $24 would buy a better toy, or some mittens, a couple packs of socks, whatever it might be, $36, $48, $60. At the end of the year, at Christmas time, $60. That's $5 a month, if I'm doing my math right in my head. Would buy a pretty nice little meal for a family in your town. You know, $60 is not a lot of money with food prices the way they are right now, and by the time this time next year, they could be even higher, and food, there may not even be that much in the stores to buy. But $60 would provide a pretty good couple of days of groceries for a family in your town. I had a sister-in-law one time who was pretty down on her luck. She was going through a really financially rough time, and a local group of entrepreneurs who got together and raised money for people like her. I contacted them, let them know, because they had posted it on Facebook, if you know a family in need. So I contacted one of the ladies in that group and told her. I thought, well, they might bring them a box of canned goods or maybe something. She comes home one day and her porch is covered in gifts. They bought clothing and toys for all three of her kids, and food and canned goods and things like that. And she didn't even know where it come from, and I never told her that I might know where it might have come from, because I was never informed of anything after the initial contact that I made with this lady. I was never told, well, here, I was just asked for their sizes and their ages and things like that, and that was where it was left. But something like that to help one family or two families. And if you can afford more, save up a little bit more. $10 a month is $120 in December. You could buy for a family, or you could buy for two families, or you could donate that money to a local church or a group that fundraises like that group. And if you can't afford anything, then don't feel guilty about not doing anything, because you may be the one in need. You may be the one needing someone to help you out. There's a difference in being humble and asking or going to a local food bank. And I was going to share a picture with you all the other night, and I completely forgot to share it. I'll have to check and see if the picture's still on my phone. A lady that I go and visit from time to time, it was a lady that used to be my next door neighbor. She's in her 70s, and she had fallen a while back and had hurt her back and was in the hospital and had some a little bit of surgery, and I had gone by to visit her. Sorry, I'm getting me a drink of water here. And this was a while back, and I had asked her, when the local church here in my town gave out food boxes, I asked her, do you want me to get you one? And she said yes. So the next time that they gave the food boxes out, I went by and picked one up for her, and I took it to her home. So that was like a month or two back. And then a few days ago, I guess it was like one day last week, I went by to visit her, and she was talking about, cooking and stuff. She's starting to get around a little bit more. She's getting around. She's able to walk a little bit more. She had physical therapy coming in to her home to help her out. And, I asked her, do you want me to cook you some food while I'm here? And she said, yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to have a good meal. So I look around, see what she's got to eat. And I found a package of like the beef stew meat, and I thawed that out, and I fried that up and cooked that up. And everything else in that meal came from that food box. It was green beans, it was potatoes, It was cornbread that I baked for her. And even the butter that I used to put on the cornbread all came from that food box. And I sit there and I ate a plate of food with her. And I made enough that she would have a plate for the next day. And I wrapped that up for her. And I'm not saying this because I'm wanting to like sing my praises as doing this for her. I'm saying because CMC always tells people you can't live off that food in those food boxes. That food's bad. But I took the picture because I wanted to show everybody that everything on that plate, except for the meat, came from that food box. The butter, the cornbread muffin mix, the bag of potatoes that I boiled and cooked for her, and the cans of green beans, it all came from the food box. So sit here and tell me that, CMC, that you can't make a meal off of that food. No, you can't make Subway, and you can't make Applebee's, and you can't make Little Caesars or Taco Bell or McDonald's, which is all she eats. And for two people to go to McDonald's, and you remember the night she talked a while back about she went to McDonald's and she got food for her and Ed and Mama Con and Little B. What food if she did that, what food she talked about she bought, I would say, I would guess was over $30 at least. Because me and my husband can go through the drive-thru at McDonald's or Wendy's, and it's $16 or $17 for the two of us to have a combo meal. And we don't do that very often. Very, very rarely do we ever go through and pick up takeout food. When we go out, we usually go someplace and go in and sit down and eat. And I'm not saying we go to fancy restaurants, fancy like Applebee's or anything, but we just don't eat out a lot. And but anyway, what I'm getting at is be as charitable as you can afford to be, but don't be overly charitable, and don't be vulnerable, and don't be gullible, and don't be giving your money away to people on the internet who are just random strangers asking you to help them out because you don't know if they really need it or not. And if we gave to every person who wants us to give, we would never have a dime for ourselves to eat or to pay our bills or put gas in our cars or pay our insurance or anything. Let's not fall into a world of and I understand people wanting to be helpful and charitable. I do, because I try to be as charitable as I can be. But like I was saying, I went by and cooked a meal for this lady. That's a way of being helpful and charitable. Doesn't have to be taking something from your own pocket. You can help people by volunteering your time if that's all you have to give. And you'll probably feel a lot better about it than just throwing money at it, But anyway, there was this uprise in people right around like a month or so ago, back around Thanksgiving, where I saw a lot of people, let's help this family out. And people were coming into CMC's lives, and they were coming into the awareness pages talking about how hard they were having it and how they could use some help. And I saw people like, let's raise money and help this family, or let's help that family, or people saying, I put together some money and sent to this family. That's nice of you. That's nice of all the people who chose to do that, but were you sure that they really had that need? People say, well, they proved it to me. And after these tornadoes hit in western Kentucky recently, people were asking for help. And people were offering help. And I would just say be very careful who you donate money to. And be very careful what stories you believe. As much as you want to feel helpful, and as much as you want to be a genuine, caring person, you can walk outside your own door and see a family in need. And you can't pick and choose if you're going to be charitable and say, I'm not going to give to that family because the dad's a lazy bum who won't work and the mom's got a cigarette in her hand, so obviously she has money, and then spend it on a family on the internet that you have no idea about, whether they're smoking. If they can afford a $7 pack of cigarettes, then, you're going to say, well, you can afford food, just like CMC. She holds up her pack of Marlboros, which are about $8 or $9 a pack. And in the same live, she's telling people how hungry she is. So who knows what these people are doing when they're not in front of the camera talking about how hard they've got it. And I know some people are going to say you're judgmental and you are, not a helpful person. Well, I know this much. My money's in my pocket, and if I want to give it to somebody, I'm going to find somebody local. I'm going to donate to a local charity, a local church, or someone who gives out these boxes of food and gifts at Christmas time or any time of the year. And I'm going to feel pretty good about the fact that I didn't just donate just to make myself feel better or to because I was guilt tripped into it on social media by other people, And I know there's going to be people who are going to disagree with this whole video, and they're going to say, that's cold and heartless. Well, I might sound cold and heartless, but I don't want to be cold when my electricity gets turned off, because I gave all my money away to try to help somebody else. Charity begins at home. Make sure your bills are paid. Make sure you will not have your electricity turned off, because your electric bill could be $500 next month. You don't know. And you might have $500 right now, and you might give $200 of that away. And next month, you're going to get your electric bill, and it's going to be $500, and you're going to say, oh my goodness, I need that money back, Charity begins at home, so put yourself and your family first. Make sure your needs are met. Make sure your electricity's paid. Make sure you have food in your cupboards and refrigerator. Make sure your children have clothing and food. And then if you have a little extra left over to give, but make sure that you're giving because it's coming from your heart and not because it's coming from some pressure from someone else, And keep this in mind. Don't give with the assumption that you're going to get it back. I mean, especially to someone like her and the people who continue to give to her. I have no sympathy for them. I'm sorry. I just don't feel any kind of sympathy. And I know people can say, well, they just didn't know. They didn't know. They stumbled upon her live and they believed her. Well, she just went and got her hair done. She got all these new shirts. She's showing off all these so-called keychain gifts and things that people supposedly bought her. We all know that they didn't. We know she bought it herself. But I'm going to end on that note. I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. Talk about my feelings on real charity. And it didn't cost me a dime to go to that lady's house and cook her a meal. It costed me enough in gas to pick up that box of food at the church that they were giving it out. But I was in town anyway. I was right there, and I didn't mind doing that for her. And I'm not telling people this to make me look better or sound like I'm better than anybody else. I'm telling this because there are ways to be charitable and to be helpful that don't have to come out of your income, Find some way to be helpful. Go volunteer at a church that gives out food. Go volunteer at a senior citizens or a nursing home, or picking up trash along your highway. Whatever makes you feel good about giving back, you know. And on that note, I'm going to stop lecturing everybody. And I'm going to say thank you for listening, and I hope everybody has a great day.